The man removed his mask, revealing a face that looked uncannily like a bird's. The soldier was just about to fire. Half of his head was chopped off in an instant. This was the signature ability of the Marukami clan, but as terrifyingly lethal as it was, at its core, it was nothing more than a portal. Over 1,000 years ago, the ancestors of the Marukami people encountered another intelligent life form. The villagers came to worship them as gods, while the gods treated the place as a colony, or perhaps an experiment site, and began making regular visits. To make it easier for their ships to land, they shaved off the top of Mount Marukami, creating a makeshift landing pad, and had the villagers hold an annual Tanabata festival, torches in hand, serving as human navigation beacons. As time went on, whether the gods had abandoned this place or their own civilization had crumbled, no one could say. The visits simply stopped. The villagers waited for years. To prevent their subjects from escaping or being discovered by the outside world, the gods had given them the ability of reach, but at the same time, planted deep within them a fear of opening the window to the outside. The villagers held on, always believing the gods would one day come to take them to their divine realm. So in every era, whenever an outsider tried to intrude or alter the landscape, they were met with fierce resistance. This power acted like a set of shackles, binding the villagers to the land, completely cut off from the outside world. But Sonoshi saw another layer to all of this. He believed the way to reach the god's realm was through the spatial orbs. It was just that some clan members were too weak to form an orb large enough to contain a human body, so they had repurposed the ability into a weapon. Now, if he could summon a spatial orb big enough, couldn't he take the entire village with him to the god's world?
もうこの世界に未練はない。向こうから迎えに来ないならこちらから出向く。やめろよ、リキ。まだ入り口と決まったわけじゃない。死ぬぞ。
Kyoko, however, didn't share that vision. She had been tormented by the fear of the outside for over 20 years, enduring the same loneliness and emptiness every single night. If going to the god's realm meant finally finding peace, she wanted in too. But there was no way I was going to let that happen. I'd worked too hard to find a girlfriend to just let her go like that. Besides, Kyoko had simply been stuck in that village too long. She hadn't seen what the outside world had to offer. Video games, binge-watching shows, traveling, shopping, wasn't any of that better than flying off to some alien planet?
みんなこの世の広さを分かってない。広すぎて掃除すんのだって大変なんだよ。
In the end, I made her a promise. I would take her to experience every wonderful thing this world had to give. Those words, which came close to a marriage proposal, moved everyone there, and most importantly, they moved Kyoko. Watching it all unfold, Sonoshi found himself thinking about his own love. The look in Kyoko's mother's eyes before she disappeared, that quiet tenderness, was something he could never forget. What I said made Sonoshi realize that everyone deserves a place to belong. As for himself, all he wanted was one more chance to see the woman who had never left his heart.
気が変わったら後からおいで。
As the spatial orb grew larger and larger, a staggering pressure swept through the air around them. The professor quickly called for everyone to fall back. In a blaze of blinding light, Sonoshi thought he caught a glimpse of the figure he had longed for all his life. From that moment on, he would never be alone again. After everything settled down, the people who had fought side by side through it all each found their own place in the world. The two remaining members of the research group stayed on at the university to teach, continuing their work in folklore studies. Satsuki graduated and became a journalist, eventually marrying the police officer who had once saved her life and settled into a peaceful, happy life. The professor and Zhang Jianzhe left the university and went to work in Marukami village together. As for me, I had long since walked away from the garbage disposal job. Instead, I started treating discarded things as treasures and opened a secondhand shop, finding true owners for the things no one wanted anymore. I also discovered that as long as I didn't summon a spatial orb, the effects that came with the bloodline would slowly fade away. Another Tanabata festival came around, and I boarded the train to Marukami village. Mount Marukami had since been filled back in, its summit no longer bare. For hundreds and thousands of years, the villagers had believed that on the night of Tanabata, someone from the other side of the Milky Way would come to take them home. And in a way, that was still true, only now, it felt a lot like the Chinese Kyushi festival. Kyoko would be waiting patiently at the Magpie Bridge, watching for me to arrive.
ようこそ